Five-game Friday night in the Ultimate Frisbee Association, and the brightest spotlight will be right here at Memorial Field in Mount Vernon, New York, where 6 days ago the New York Empire saved their season in dramatic and somewhat miraculous fashion. Tonight, Friday Night Frisbee presented by Pabst Light as the Empire look to make it two in a row. And they look for revenge against a team that got the better of them up in Toronto earlier this year, the 2-5 Rush. Welcome to our broadcast spot, everybody. Great to be alongside Bryan Jones, the former UFA Coach of the Year. I'm Evan Lepler. And Bryan, take a deep breath because there's a lot to talk about with these two teams. Let's start with New York and what happened last week. And just what has been your perspective of the Empire in 2025 from the opening day loss in Oakland to the stumbles that they've had, to the hope that they're clinging to as we come down the stretch?
Well, they just haven't been very consistent on offense, right? They haven't been healthy until last week. Jack had an early hamstring injury, and they didn't have everybody available at any given time. And now that Callum Brown's back, John Randolph is playing great, it allows Jack to be Jack. He doesn't want to have to go every other until it's the end of the game. He doesn't want to have to get involved in possession until the end zone set, and then he can make some amazing plays.
You were here last Saturday. You've coached in the D.C.-New York rivalry. You've had 6 days to kind of digest what transpired. 6 days later, your thoughts on D.C.-New York last Saturday and how the heck the Empire won that game?
I mean, a little bit of luck.
A lot of luck.
Oh, yeah. Maybe we could call it a lot of luck. We've been involved in a lot of D.C.-New York games. We've seen scoreless fourth quarters. We've seen timeouts be misapplied in overtime. We've been seeing wacky rules being applied, and it seemed like that game had every bit from, like, you could kind of pick and choose where they came from. And New York to just survive and stay alive, I mean, that's it, right? Their season's saved. They're able to make a playoff run now. Let's see if they can do it tonight.
They're 4-5. They have 3 games left. They're all at home. They got Toronto tonight, then Philly, and then Boston. And the Empire are feeling like they could peak at the right time. It's even more desperate times, though, for Toronto. They are 2-5. They've played really well. They haven't gotten blown out yet this year. There are a number of games where you could be like, oh, they could have won that one. They could have won that one. The reality is you are who you are. They won the offseason with all their marquee international signings, and they're a scary team on paper. But as you've watched Toronto, has it been as simple as they look like a bunch of talent that is still figuring out how to play together?
That's exactly it. They are a bunch of talent. It's like Europe invaded Canada and left the Frisbee players around the mess to figure it out, and they're doing it creatively. A lot of hammers, right? A lot of big throws. Karklin's is a menace in the air and in the underneath space as well. And it's just tough because they've talked about at the beginning of the season they had an entirely different plan, and you want people to be in the area to establish that chemistry, and now you've got to figure it out on the fly. And unfortunately for Toronto, they've been so close to being, really close to getting not only a playoff spot, but maybe the second seed, if you take into account how close these games have been, but they haven't been able to pull it off.
There's Jamie Millage in the red shirt. He was an assistant coach for the Rush. He was a player for the Rush. He is now the man in charge. You see Arvids Karklins, this tallest man to the right from Latvia, just a sensational talent. And really, all of the international additions have worked out, with the exception perhaps of Simone Gasparini, who's been hurt and has been able to play, the young Italian. But, Karklins has been excellent at times. Tom Blasman has been a bit of a revelation, particularly offensively, their leader in assists. Tom Zabaltines leads the D-line. They get Connor McHale back tonight, and he's a really experienced, polished guy. Played the first 2 games of the season for Toronto, and he hadn't played since. What does McHale bring to this squad tonight, the lefty from Great Britain?
Well, he's a guy who can single-handedly win you points in offense. He's a great lefty hucker. He can break around in different ways. People aren't used to guarding him, marking him, unlike other really stellar throwers. And so McHale can be a one-man band if he has to be, but he doesn't have to be, right? It's like all of a sudden you just took all the best players in Europe who are vying for the title of the MVP of the European scene, and they're all put together on one team, with the exception of Tobe DeCrana and Dan Desmarais over in Chicago. And so Connor gets to play a little bit more of a reset role, but he's going to be delivering some picture-perfect tucks tonight. I'm almost guarantee it.
Well, these two teams have a lot of East Division titles between them. They have 4 UFA championships between them. And Toronto here tonight is looking to sweep the regular season series against New York after a 2-goal win on the 1st of this month. It's a beautiful night for Frisbee, which is certainly better than we could say for last Saturday night here. But yeah, glorious conditions, and Friday night Frisbee under the lights in New York. Toronto taking on the Empire. All smiles right now, but the competitive fire is about to be super intense. Earlier today, we had a chance to catch up with 2 members of the New York Empire. We heard from Calvin Brown, and we heard from John Randolph, coming off maybe his best game ever in a New York jersey. Roll the tape.
John Randolph, New York Empire. The rest of the division has gotten a lot stronger. I think we were resting on our laurels a little bit from the past years. Not that we did so well last year. But I think we were making playoffs as sort of a given, and it's obviously not a given. I think we're responding well. In past years, we've never been in this situation, at least as long as I've been on the team. So it's definitely been some growing pains, especially in the first few weeks. We didn't really know how to respond. I would say we tried to respond like a team that's very used to winning and took one unexpected loss. Now we're responding like a team that has everything on the line every game, which I think is a more appropriate and healthy way to respond. I think it really is pushing us to get a lot better and to maximize our velocity. You know, every game is a little unique. Toronto brings its own unique challenge. They beat us in a few specific ways last time we played them, which we're trying to address. But we're more focused on ourselves. We're more focused on getting better every week, improving every week, becoming a team worthy of wins and a team worthy of a championship every week. So they're just one step ahead. And if we manage to win a championship this year, it's going to be worth like 100 seasons where we win every game.
Calvin Brown, New York Empire. I mean, I played a couple of seasons on Aviators, and we were always like playoff bubble, so this is pretty normal for me. And I think like meaningful games at the end of the regular season are like way better than, you know, just playing it out for nothing's sake. So I'm excited. Hopefully we make playoffs, and you know, this fight is going to be really fun. Last game was the first time like me, Saul, and Jack were playing on the same line since like the first Montreal game at home, and like developing that chemistry as like a handler unit is really important to me. I think for our D-line, Toronto is a very different style than DC. DC, we want to make them, they're like really comfortable not hucking, we want to make them grind, and Toronto, like they love to huck, and so I think adjusting to the opponents will be like a big challenge for us. I think like no matter what happens, we got to make sure we're like pushing through like any adversity, even if we're up, like got to widen that lead. And I think we haven't really had a comfortable win this season, so like that would be sweet, but if we need another like gritty, come from behind, double OT thriller, we'll take it, you know.
On the green stage. Huge bid. Gets the
It's a great opportunity for the Germans, and they break with ease.
Throw it the full 80 yards to the field. Are you kidding me? And an incredible catch. You are kidding me. Oh my God. Throw like a pro with the new Pro Ultimate Frisbee. Created with input from the sport's premier passers, the Pro Frisbee is specially designed to fly through the wind and maintain its edge. Experience the official Frisbee of the UFA and get yours at shopufa.com today. 19 days ago, the rebooted Toronto Rush finally tasted victory thanks to a brilliant fourth quarter performance against the New York Empire at Varsity Stadium. Tonight, these two longtime East Division rivals are set to square off in the rematch in New York City, with both teams feeling the pressure of a must-win situation. We're set for another thrilling chapter in the UFA's most competitive division, the Toronto Rush and the New York Empire, coming up on Friday Night Frisbee. Next. Off we go from Memorial Field in Mount Vernon, New York. John Randolph and the Empire, after a thrilling, cathartic, miraculous Saturday night home win just 6 days ago, trying to get back to the 500 mark in this wild East Division race. The Toronto Rush begin as tough a doubleheader as there is right now, at New York on Friday, at Boston on Saturday. There's some other tough doubleheaders, but with your season on the line at 2-5, must-win situation really for both teams. This is what Friday Night Frisbee late in the season is all about. Good evening, everybody. Evan Lepler with the former UFA Coach of the Year, Bryan Jones. Bryan, the history of the UFA, we've never had a divisional race quite like this. You got Boston clearly in position to host the East Final, but then you got 5 teams within 1 game of each other in the loss column, and every game means so much.
Yeah, and anything can happen, right? All of these teams have a talent. All of these teams have the great throwers, the athletic playmakers. In every game, if it was like last week with that craziness with New York and D.C., we're in for a treat.
I think there are some American fans that might be watching Arvids Karklins tonight for the very first time. He is a dynamic athlete from Latvia, the headliner to Toronto's off-season acquisitions. What should folks know about Arvids? What should they expect?
They should be scared. They should be quaking in their boots. I've had to coach against him, and there's nothing that he can't do. The ability to throw it deep, to come into the handler space and be chilly with it and move the ball as needed, and then when a big play is necessary, there's not too many people that compete with him in the air. He really, if he wants to be, he can be incredibly unstoppable, and we'll just see what it's like tonight against these big athletes against New York.
Expect him to play a lot of offense, but they'll have him out there on D. He's been their leader in points played more often than not. Speaks to how valuable he is for the Toronto Rush. And obviously in New York's win over DC last weekend, the double overtime victory wouldn't have happened without so many different moments. But John Randolph, I thought, had his best game in an Empire jersey. He played offense full time. He was dynamic. He was clutch. He almost threw it away on the game-winning point, but it did get to the end zone for the game-winning score. And what have you liked about John Randolph switching to O?
His switch to O has been incredible. This year especially, he's finding his range with his shots. He's trying to figure out which hooks he should be taking that he can be reliable on, the little scoobers that help score. He's always been a great cutter in the end zone set. This is where he's made his money. He gets the little dishes. He plays the dominator game. He breaks ankles. He finds a way to get open. But then it's adding the little bits of throws, the little nuance to the game, going deep, becoming a more dynamic cutter that has allowed him to be this offensive stalwart. And then, of course, the defense is there. He's that engine that keeps on coming, and they're going to need him tonight to cross over and play multiple ways.
Oh, he will start this game on offense with the rest of the group that finished the game last Saturday. Solomon Rushmeyer-Bailey in the backfield with Jack Williams, Calvin Brown, Matt Labar, Ben Yacht, and Jacob Cowan, who made a heroic catch one throw before that John Randolph game-winning score. New York in their home blacks tonight, and the Empire sitting at 4-5, and yet it feels like they are very much in control because they have their final 3 games at home. The opening pull tonight on Friday Night Frisbee is presented by Pabst Light. You could not ask for a better Friday night. It was really breezy before the game, but the wind has died down, and off we go. Friday Night Frisbee, Week 9 in the Ultimate Frisbee Association. Calvin Brown takes the centering pass from Solomon Rushmeyer-Bailey. And here's Jacob Cowan coming underneath.
They switched him over to O-line in the second half of the last game against DC. And it seems like it's made a big difference. Cowan for Ever Shapiro. Shapiro's a great player in his own right. But sometimes it's about getting the timing right and a drop.
Well, this is how it started last Saturday night against the Breeze on offense.
And it looks like we have a punctured disc or a bent disc. It's going to be replaced. And that really is so unlike Saul Rushmeyer-Bailey. We've known him as Mr. Dependable ever since he's come into the league.
Tom Zabaltines picks up dishes for Connor McHale, 2 of the European imports. Continue to Owen Robinson. Huge early opportunity, but I think Calvin Brand or John Randolph got a hand on it.
McHale just cutting too close to the dump. Easy to get a hand in there.
Randolph sending LeBar, floating perfectly all the way into the end zone. What a shot from JR.
Terrific shot. This is a shot that he hadn't been throwing in previous years. And we saw him be added to the O-line last year and play a lot of points. In some key moments in the playoffs, he was taken off the field. Here we see the drop, and there's not much else to say. But after they get it back, John Randolph's able to figure out that shot. You see the tip disc by Brown, the shimmy fake, and Randolph, this is where he's been on point. This is what he's added to his game. And when that's on fire, now you have to pick your poison. It used to be you understood what he was going to do. He was going to run the dominator scheme. He was going to get open in the end zone set, and you could put a certain defender on him. But now, if he's going to become that shooter, you've got to figure out what to do with it.
Randolph, 6 assists, 3 goals last week. Empire delighted to have Marquez Brownlee back in the lineup. But his opening pull tonight sails wide left. And Toronto will begin from the brick mark. And we'll see this rush offense that does have some homegrown talent too. I mean, particularly the Lewis brothers, Wilkie and James. But Carkland's getting the first touch coming under, picked up by Ever Shapiro. Carkland's number 99 for the rush. Luke Comire, veteran handler for Toronto. And to midfield, this is James Lewis. Comire with the mark closing in. He breaks the mark to the far side of the field. Now will create some space for this Toronto attack. Going up the line and into the end zone. Wilkie Lewis with the opening score of the night for Toronto.
Such a smooth flick out to space. Yeah, and this isn't a traditional huck. After a good possession, Toronto is working it down. They get into their end zone set after a huge Parkland's under. And this around throw, the receiver was completely stationary before this throw went up. And that's just a sign of good chemistry working out. You've kind of seen this from the kind of the European imports coming in a lot of ways. We've seen throws like hammers, discs out to space that maybe most teams wouldn't throw, but when you have that connection and you have that ability, it can make for really easy scores.
So each team starts with a hold, a dirty hold for New York, clean hold for the rush. Calvin Brown centers to Rushmeyer-Bailey this time, sure-handed clap catch, and here's LeBar. Brian, Matt LeBar, a guy who's really coming on for this New York offense. He caught the opening goal of the night. His last 5 games coming into tonight, 16 goals, 12 assists. He's becoming consistent, reliable, steady. You can see the confidence growing for this young guy.
He's been on the up and up since last year. A lot of speed, doing a great job shifting over to the O-line and providing consistent open undercuts when the situation grows dire.
Scuba to Cowan, another tough catch made by the young man Jacob Cowan. Rushmeyer-Bailey floats it to Brown. Calvin makes a lot of difficult things look very easy on the field, and there's Randolph's second assist and LeBar's second goal. First clean hold of the night for the Empire.
Cowan rescues the play early on, and after that point, it's pretty smooth sailing. Brown at this point gets in the dominator scheme, finds John Randolph, and just this easy, quick decision to throw the blade. Again, we're seeing John Randolph just add more throws to his bag, and the decisions are just becoming instantaneous. He's feeling confident. He's grown that expertise. It's a scary thought.
Yeah.
It really is. To see John Randolph go from this dynamic, looks like no one could stop him in the end zone, to let's just add a little bit more to the game. Let's see how good he can get. Shows that every player hasn't hit their ceiling.
Also early in that last point, it was a good holster from Calvin Brown. He had an open deep cutter, but there was a lot of traffic in the lane. He's among the league leaders in Huck completions, but he's also among the league leaders in throwaways. They look for him to be slightly more efficient, but they know he's explosive and opens things up for the Empire O. Now, Keith McRae connecting with Carklands. And Camire now. And Antoine Davis gets a hand in the passing lane for the first block. Antoine had been on a bit of a drought. 0 blocks in his last 3 games. Only one time in his entire lengthy career had he gone 4 games without a block, but the Empire will not capitalize. Another New York drop as Yarder couldn't handle the quick pass.
Type of turnover drive coach is crazy.
I could imagine. Camire with a stall count rising. Scuba resets for Blasman. Tom Blasman from the Netherlands. They call him Turbo, and he turns on the Jets into the end zone there. Smooth start for the Toronto offense.
Little Scuba gets it off the sideline, and they can't take advantage of the turnover. Good defense by Antoine Davis. Camire just kind of trusting Carklands a little bit too much, and then it's hard to diagnose this one. The pass wasn't the greatest into Yarder's hands. Nonetheless, should be a catch. And from here, the nice give and go. Blasman. He's tall. He's got the scoobers. He's got the hammers and the quickness. That's a tough guard.
Keys to the game presented by Victory. What are you looking for both teams tonight?
New York consistency on offense. So far, besides the drop, we've seen what I've expected to see. Jack Williams doesn't have to play a huge role. He gets to play possum a little bit, hide out, and come into the play when he wants to. And then for the rush, it's been tough. You got to find a way to break early, get on top. Their offenses look good, but their defense against Boston had opportunities, couldn't punch it in, couldn't save the season. They need to have a better effort tonight.
Randolph 2 assists already. Looking for number 3. Jack Williams brings it in. Little hesitation there from Jack. Looked over one shoulder, looked over the other, found his gear. 3-2 New York.
Count up all the scores. 1, 2, 3, 3 assists for John Randolph. Finding different ways to get it done. A couple of hucks, the foot hucks here. It's in his wheelhouse now. He feels comfortable with it. He throws this one, it sits enough. Jack does a double take, a triple take, and finally runs it down. If I'm Toronto, at this point, seeing John Randolph throw flick after flick after flick, you have to change the force. You have to do something different.
I'll tell you what, John Randolph is on pace to shatter the record for most assists in a UFA game. It's a tough pace to maintain. The record was Cole Sullivan, 17 assists back in 2016 for the Jacksonville Cannons in a game against Atlanta.
Toronto, really with a scouting report early on, has been known to throw it deep, and it seems like New York is also taking away the hammers with a backhand force, making it a little easier, but I've seen a lot of big unders, and now can New York clamp down a little bit more to get more pressure on the rush? You can't be afraid of the deep shot. You have to figure out a way to pressure both sides.
A difficult catch, but it's made nicely by Keith McRae. 5 days ago, Keith McRae skied the 2-time MVP. Now, Jeff Babbitt had the last laugh, but Keith McRae got a highlight and a poster over Babbitt, which is not something many can say.
Well, Toronto was up late in the third quarter, and it took a lot of effort from Boston to turn them around for 5 straight scores.
Well, so far the start of this game is very reminiscent to the start of Sunday's game at Varsity Stadium, where Toronto's offense went unbroken into the midway portion of the second quarter. I mean, they came out sizzling and smooth, and that's what we got tonight. First goal for Arvids Karklins.
And you saw Boston reach in their bag of tricks, because when it's smooth like this for Toronto, it's hard to stop. They have really good deep threats. They have great underneaths. They have the trick throws, the hammers that would open up the play. And so you really have to make them think. And it wasn't until Boston amped up the pressure, introduced some double teams, some trickery, some zones even, that they were able to generate turnovers and get back in that game and take control.
Arvids Karklins from Salaspils, Latvia. About a half hour from the capital of Riga. He started playing in 2012, and he's one of those kids that found Frisbee and found Brody Smith's videos and started making his own trick shot videos. And I mean, you can see a little bit of Brody Smith in Arvid's game, his style, his swagger, a big layout, unsuccessful there from Nathan Shea. Near the sideline, Labar with a fancy footwork maintains possession, and then a low laser hauled in by Yacht. And he holsters the backhand. He had Rushmeyer Bailey going deep. Oh, that's a hand block on the mark. Tom's Abeltins. The other Latvian on this Toronto squad. And a break chance here for Toronto. Their second. McHale threads the needle through the double team over to Abeltins. Here's Phil Turner coming underneath. Veteran defender. He's been involved in many a break chances for the Rush. Turner's one of the connective tissue pieces from kind of that 2013 to 2018 Rush era that won the East more often than not. Won a title with an undefeated season back in 2013. Here's McHale coming under. Robinson keeps it going. This would be the first break of the night if the Rush could convert. Oh, what a catch by Abeltins. And that finds Adibe. And Toronto gets it done to take the 4-3 lead.
It wasn't pretty, but it doesn't have to be. They worked it down to the end zone, and then things got really tight for a moment for Toronto. And Abeltins rescues possession. Look at this lofty flick. That's when you have the height and the length. Adibe finishing it off. That's huge for Toronto to get off the lead early. And here, it's just a half pivot backhand from Calvin Brown. He's not used to facing someone with that amount of length. He's a pretty lengthy mark himself.
Yeah, that's one thing that stands out about Glasman, Abeltins, and Karklins. They're all big dudes. They're all long arms, lanky, athletic.
I mean, thank the GM for the Toronto Rush for bringing in the right players to the league. A lot of length, multi-dimensional throwers, and the ability to go up and get those high discs. You can't teach height, you can't teach length.
That GM is Jim Lloyd, the GM and owner of Toronto, and another mistake from the New York offense. Rushmeyer Bailey expecting Randolph to continue coming under. Oh, and just a disastrous sequence for New York. Bit of a clown show as Yacht collides with Rushmeyer Bailey after the careless giveaway. It's another break for Toronto. Norris in the end zone for the Rush.
Rushmeyer Bailey is used to getting a physical matchup because he plays the angle so well. He's not used to getting it from his own team. And 2 mistakes here, a misread, a miscommunication with his college teammate, which they won a championship. And that's another tough one. You saw the early drop. I'm not sure if that's Randolph's fault or Saul Rushmeyer Bailey's fault. You don't see Randolph cut off his cut too often. But good defense by the Rush. Getting another break.
Keith McCrae to Harry Norris for the conversion. Back-to-back breaks for Toronto here on the road at New York. The Rush had the 1 turnover on the first break chance. Their offense, though, has been perfect. And they are now 2 for 3 on break opportunities. The first 8.5 minutes. Another kind of awkward pull receive there from Calvin Brown in the Empire. Williams near the sideline, marked by Kevin J. Underneath for Yacht. Yacht coming off a game where he's like to forget as Cowan shoots it. It's a floater. Can the defenders make up the gap on LeBar? Oh, that's going to be a foul. LeBar got absolutely trucked by James McLean, and New York will have it on the goal line.
You can see McLean trying to track the disc. It doesn't see LeBar with a smart attempt to box out. And if McLean just is a little bit more aware of surroundings, I think it's a hard chance for LeBar to get that disc.
Right. Yeah, the foul kind of bailed him out there. No doubt it was a call. Reset for Jack. And right back to LeBar. Third goal for the JMU alum, Matt LeBar. New York back within one after they were broken the previous 2-0 points.
It's so much fun right in that moment watching Ableton compete against Jack Williams. You got to think not only is this a rivalry game in North America with a storied history, but you're seeing these European champions come over with a chance to play against top Americans. They remember how good Jack Williams can be. Playoff Jack came back last game. We saw him return to form. A little bit of that hamstring injury earlier in the year. And there might just be a little bit extra mustard.
Brian, you and I were chatting on the phone earlier this week, and you said something I thought was really interesting about how the style of European Ultimate is conducive to big plays, because oftentimes they rely on their top dudes more and they don't have the depth. So hold that thought as we see Karkland's going here against Antoine Davis. He reads it well, bumps him off, hold his ground, makes the catch. Komire on target. And Wilkie Lewis has his second score for the Rush. Do you want to take the baton about the European style and why we see such great highlights from Don Desmarais and Toba Dekrana and all these Rush imports from Europe?
Well, I think for a lot of the teams, they often don't have the depth that you see on top American squads. And so you get used to a strategy that's saying, hey, it's windy, let's toss it up to our athletic big guy and have him make a play. And so they get the reps of getting these 50-50 balls. And it's not a style that the Americans have played for a long time, where they really do a good job of running dominators, being very clinical and surgical, not turning the ball over. The Europeans are much more willing to play a game of chemistry in a game of play to your strengths personnel-wise, as opposed to go to a traditional structure. Now, don't get me wrong. The Europeans have structure. The Mooncatchers have structure. They've won championships and ascended to the top of the European scene because of it. But they still have that athletic ability to go up and win a disc when they have to.
Toronto is somewhat short-handed tonight. They're missing 5 guys who are getting ready to play for Team Canada, U24 Worlds. An absolute missile from Brown near the sideline, though, and Jack Williams running out of room. Adibe with some contact late, which was unnecessary because I don't think that was catchable.
That just never had a chance of staying in, unfortunately. Calvin Brown with a cannon of an arm, but didn't get the right edge on it.
Timeout, Toronto. 4th break chance for Jamie Millich's team. Just over a minute to play here in the opening quarter on Friday Night Frisbee.
Best craft beverages in the market. It continues to develop and evolve the beverage space in innovative new ways.
30 seconds.
1, 2, 3, score. Brian, Tom Blasman just turned 22 in January, and yet he's basically taken over a leadership role on this team that he just joined. Coming off the best game of his season by far, but he's been playing really well lately. 10 for 12 on his hucks in his last 3 games. He had 630 throwing yards, 230 receiving yards, and 8 assists in a game that the Rush ultimately lost against Boston. Difficult reset out of the timeout, but Pola is able to bring it in. Pola's Scuber for the leaping Keith McCrae. We got a foul on the mark, and it's going against Shapiro. And Brian, we will see if Toronto can maintain this spirit and this energy and this smoothness through the full 48 minutes. But so far, they look like the more crisp Frisbee team tonight.
They look better. They look plainly simply better than New York. And I think New York has to start mixing up on defense. I am surprised to not see double teams. I am surprised to see kind of this vanilla forced backhand that we've seen so far and just try to win the matchups. Right now, this Toronto team is playing with a ton of confidence, the ability to beat you underneath, break you, throw it deep, throw the hammer. You have to find a way to make it weird, make it confusing, different windows. Because right now, they almost look like the DC Breeze, just taking their time, passing it around, swinging it. Yes, we've seen a few scoobers, a few contested catches, but a lot of this is simple. Great space, use your talent, find a way through. Now we see a double team.
Toronto pretty intentionally here, looks to be milking clock as well. Looking for the last shot of the quarter. This would be their 3rd break if they could get it. After the timeout, their O-line is out there. Blasman with a clock a little bit higher than what we got on the screen. 5 seconds. Blasman with 3 goes cross field, and it's going to be deflected and caught. Are you kidding me? Arvids Karklins eating the Frisbee. 7-4 Toronto after 1. Wow.
It has always been the dream for a team to be able to milk the clock.
This was their first break to Norris. And now Karklins.
It's always been a dream for a team to milk the clock, and they found a way to do it. Punching in their 3rd break, New York's tired. They're down 7-4. We'll see if New York can respond here going into the 2nd quarter.
Yeah, the Empire coming off the win over DC, feeling good, but they have been punched in the face. Let's see how they respond. 1 down, 3 to go on Friday Night Frisbee. On the green, huge bid, gets the
It's a
touch.
great opportunity for the Germans, and they break it.
Throw it the full 80 yards to the field. Are you kidding me? And an incredible catch. Are you kidding me? Oh my God! Throw like a pro with a new Pro Ultimate Frisbee. Created with input from the sport's premier passers, the Pro Frisbee is specially designed to fly through the wind and maintain its edge. Experience the official Frisbee of the UFA and get yours at shopufa.com today. The Ultimate Frisbee Association is proudly presented by Pabst Light, America's quality light beer. The UFA is also proud partners with Trulieve, dedicated to enhancing lives through cannabis. Two-Town Cider House, high-quality ingredients, no shortcuts, bringing hard cider back to the people. And Victory Insoles, engineered for peak performance, energy, and recovery. Evan Lepler, Bryan Jones, our entire crew here in Mount Vernon, New York, where the Empire have come out a little sloppy, couple drops, couple casual mistakes, and Toronto has been locked in. 3 breaks and 4 chances, 7 goals, only 2 turns. And Arvids Karklin's catching the buzzer beater off the deflection. Everest Shapiro got a hand on it, and Karklin's wants it all with this throw into double coverage, into the deep space. We get a whistle. James Lewis went down, and we're going to get pass interference against Sam Alston.
I want to see this again, but I'm pretty sure this could be an Oscar-worthy play. Ooh, Sam Alston does get into him. A little unnecessary, but I think he was more surprised by the contact than anything else. I think that's a routine level of contact we normally see in a deep pass.
Lewis resets for Comire and then gets it right back, and it's 8-4 Toronto. Just over a minute gone here in the second. I'm with you, Brian, but the call goes the Rush's way, and some of those floaters are hard for the defense because that contact, I mean, I feel like both what we saw in the first quarter when McLean fouled LeBar, you know, the defense kind of bailed the offense out, gave the official a chance to make the call, and you know, he's certainly seeking out the contact.
I think Lewis does a great sell job there. I think he does a great job of going to the ground. I think Lewis, he's a bigger dude than Sam Alston. I don't know about that one. What do you think, Evan?
I agree that he sold it well, but I don't think that means it wasn't a foul. Randolph and Brown in the backfield. For pretty much every O point so far, in fact, I think for every O point for New York, we have seen this same group. As a coach in this league that won a championship and has thought about everything, where do you stand, Brian, on having 7 guys on the O-line or having 8, 9, 10 and create a little bit more of a rotation?
Well, I think you have to have a little bit of rotation for times like these. To play tight is fine. I think this is the unit to do it. They haven't had the right start.
Labar to Yacht. 9:45 to go in the half.
The bigger thing I'm seeing right now, Evan, is this inability to bring the fire on defense. They have to find a way to bring energy, and I think what you're hearing right from Nunez before the start of the game, this is a younger team. They want to have joy. I totally get that. I've been on teams that have different mixtures of energy, but if your top players aren't feeling the vibe and they're not creating energy in their way, who's going to rally everybody when you're down like this? And it's emotionally difficult to do it week after week. You thought you found something if you New York from the second quarter on. I said it on air. Calvin Brown, Jack Williams playing together, and now they haven't been able to be consistent. They've had the bad start, so how do you get the fire back on the D-line? They have to find a way. It hasn't been consistent.
Here's a twist. Brownlee rolls the pull out the side. No double team, though. Brownlee sits the mark on Blasman. Comire joins him in the backfield. Axel Agami Contreras there. That's a low throw, but kept alive by Karklins.
So much trust for him, and for good reason.
Blasman just working with Karklins right now. We're seeing some big bendy throws from Toronto, but they're using the space nicely that's available to them.
It's not much wind here tonight, and so these throws can work out.
Karklins in the end zone, brings in Comire's hammer. It's the 3rd goal for Arvids. He's playing tonight in front of his wife and his mom, who traveled over from Latvia. They saw him play in Toronto this past Sunday, and they get to travel with the Rush this weekend as well. Best level of ultimate Frisbee, a world away.
They just look comfortable. The
Well
tempo.
Well said.
They look extremely comfortable in this tempo. They're taking their time. New York came in with a game plan, I think it's clear. Let's not let them huck. And it worked out for the first couple possessions where the Rush were comfortable taking the underneath pass and finding ways to just swing it around. They have to change the tenor of this game. They have to find a way to get the Rush to move with a faster tempo.
Along with the 3 goals, Parkland's already with over 300 total yards. Most of anybody in the game. Most of those have been receiving yards, though he is 13 for 13 passing as well. Comire's hammer on that last play was his 4th assist of the half. Here's Williams with a big gainer to Yacht. Brown surveys and launches. Turner was there to peel off against LeBar, and Turner is there for the block. May have landed on LeBar's leg, and LeBar a little shaken up.
Great read by Turner coming in to help D. Gets out in front, makes it really hard. LeBar almost gets a fingertip on it. And then, yeah, grabbing the lower extremity.
Ryan, since the pandemic, Phil Turner, including tonight, has played in 39 UFA games. He's had at least 1 block in 37 of them. In this league, in this era, when blocks are really hard to come by, that is a really impressive stat.
As long as you're taking away end of quarter blocks, I agree with you. Who's doing the stats here? Who's taking it away?
Well, Tom Blasman shooting it. And Jack Williams is there to earn possession back for New York. Blasman immediately waved at McHale as if to say, my bad, on that throw. We got to travel on the reset here. Mike Zanella, the lead official. I think Connor McHale's perhaps trying to use an integrity to say, no, he's fine initiating it where he was, and now they're going to let Calvin keep the disc.
Some discussion of whether it went out the sideline, and so Williams would take it on the cone. I didn't get a chance to see it.
The clock is still ticking, by the way. They have not stopped it during this 30, 40-second discussion. New York trailing by 4. It could have been 5 if Toronto had cashed in here, but Williams finds Randolph all alone in the deep space, and he will milk it into the end zone. His first goal of the night to go with his 3 assists.
Really huge chance for Toronto. A 5-goal lead at this point in the game, you haven't put it to bed, but you had an opportunity to really even take more command, and this throw is so perfect. Finding the right edge to keep that disc driving to Randolph. It looks like it was going to be short for a while, but Randolph just keeps steadying down the field. Milks it for the goal. When do you start crossing over people if you're New York? I want to make this a 2-goal game before halftime, and I think you have to consider it after you get a nice, easy, clean hold. At this point in the first half, you just haven't generated really anything.
When you're thinking as a coach about crossing someone over, does that mean they're running 2 points in a row, or are you replacing them on the O-line for the ensuing
It means
point?
they're probably running 3 points in a row.
We'll see if Anthony Nunez and Matt Stevens give it a shot. No notable crossovers here. We do see Max Shepard on the field. Max had a great debut for the Empire out in Oakland, and he hadn't had a big game since then. Kind of been lost in the rotation. Only played 5-6 D points in the DC game. I did ask Anthony Nunez and Matt Stevens about it. They said, we like Max. He's a real key for us on a turn. We like the matchups against the Breeze, and we stayed with them as the Rush make their first O-line miscue. James Lewis could not bring it in near the sideline, and here comes New York's break opportunity. And the offense is coming back on. Timeout, New York. 5:45 to play in the second quarter. Around the Ultimate Frisbee Association, divisional races are heating up. The Week 9 game of the week. These Toronto Rush heading to Boston for a pretty quick turnaround. 5 p.m. from Hormel Stadium tomorrow. That game broadcast exclusively on WatchUFA.tv, so make sure you got your subscription for that. Next Friday night, South Division Showdown. The undefeated 7-0 Austin Soul at the Atlanta Hustle, who started 6-0, have since lost 3 straight. Atlanta plays Houston tomorrow. And then the next day, Austin heads up to Carolina. Brian, I said in the open that at New York, at Boston is as tough a doubleheader as there is in the league. Of course, we've seen teams go at Salt Lake, at Oakland. We've seen teams go at Atlanta, at Carolina. What is the toughest doubleheader right now in the UFA?
Well, I think it really depends. Are you flying or are you driving? Because it's not an easy drive through traffic up to Boston, and you have these 2 tough opponents you have to play. But that Canadian road trip for us was always the toughest one. Always a slog. You go up to Montreal, end up in Toronto afterwards, or in Ottawa at the time. A lot of time spent on the road, a lot of time playing board games together.
What was the top board game of choice during your, well, hang on a second. Yacht reads it better than anybody, and with all the defenders moving toward him, that leaves Matt Labar wide open. Good to see Labar back on the field after he was shaken up earlier. And that's a break for New York, their first of the night. They're back within 2.
That's huge. Have to find a way to stay within 2 going to halftime. They still have 1 timeout left, and here's where I would consider maybe you have to read the body language. You see the missed opportunity on the swing and then a near block to get it back, but you have to read the body language of your players. Are they coming off gassed? Are they tired? Are they exhausted? Hands on their knees? If that's the case, you have to trust your D-line to go out there and get another turnover. But so far, New York's really, I wouldn't even call it forced 1 turnover. Antoine was playing good defense in the double space, and Komire read it wrong earlier in the first half, in the first quarter. Here they have to find a way to get another block, and really their first block. New York still just playing this straight up, and now going to a little bit of double team. Alati choosing to come over.
Well, it's a big point for Toronto after getting broken. McCray on the sideline jams it up to James Lewis. Pretty good handler defense, and it creates a turn. Axel Agami Contreras. And Brownlee shoots it deep. Oliver Chartok back in the lineup for New York. Brings in the break. Empire within 1.
There it is. There's the forced turnover. First one of the game. Great defense in the handler's space. Locks him down. Agami Contreras. And then Brownlee, the World Game star, putting it deep. And it hangs. It bounces a little bit. Chartok strong to the disc to bring the Empire within 1.
Just a couple weeks ago, Oliver Chartok, the first point of the game at DC on Friday night, tweaked his hamstring. He missed last week, but he's an important cutter for this team, and on the D-line, you knew where Brownlee was looking right away.
Great fast break opportunity, and took advantage of it. And I don't know, Evan, did you catch that celebration?
I didn't know what it was, but I enjoyed it.
Let's leave it at that. McHale out here on offense to sub in. It looks like a D-line for Toronto after a couple breaks in a row.
We got 3:45 to play in the half. It was a 4-goal lead for the Rush. They had the disc to potentially go up by 5. Jack Williams got the block, and it's been all Empire since. Can Toronto stabilize here and keep the lead? First touch for Josh East. First game in the UFA and his first turnover as well. Oliver Fay returning to the New York lineup and making things happen.
Great play on a disc that hung way too long. And here I'm just watching Flo. If Marquez can stay open and get this disc.
Whoa, reset kept alive by Shepard. And he uncorks a gigantic backhand. It's not going to count. The whistle blew. It's a timeout, and it was about a 75-yard missile right on target for Tristan Yarder. And Max is like, I'm not used to being a D-liner.
Well, I don't blame him. As soon as you see any sign of the possession going wrong, and it's this late in the first half with a timeout to burn, you're going to take it. And East trying to look deep, and it hangs just a little bit too much for Turner.
East, a Clapham guy from Great Britain, joining Connor McHale on the Rush, making his debut tonight. Tough spot to be in a UFA game against a team like New York, and your first time with a silent 7-second stall count. Not normal.
It's hard to adjust. The good players do it pretty quickly. Usually we've seen the one stall occur. We saw it with Kurt Gibson, I believe, in his pro debut.
I was just thinking about that. He got stalled out in his first game as an Oakland Spider in 2014. Of course, the Spiders still won the game and the title. New York's trailed by as many as 4. But Toronto has not scored since the 8:46 mark. And the last 6 minutes have been mostly all New York. Not all too dissimilar to the start against DC last week. They were down 6-3 early in the second quarter before getting on track. And once New York got on track, they were not broken the rest of the game. LeBar accelerates for the score. Calvin Brown puts it on a platter, and we're tied 9-all.
You talked about it earlier. LeBar has just been great for this offense. An up-and-coming player for a couple of years. And when you give him that much space, and with a thrower like Brown, it's going to look like it's automatic. It looks so easy, so smooth.
Even in a New York jersey, you still got that SoCal chill to him. Calvin Brown grew up in LA, playing Ultimate on the beach as a young kid.
I mean, he's super competitive, but that interview,
right?
It makes it seem like, if we win or lose, it's going to be okay. And having been, having the luxury of coached him before, he comes up in big moments. And like you said, it's that vibe of just saying, hey, we're going to hang out on the beach, we're going to have a good time, and yeah, hopefully win some Frisbee games.
5 goals in the half for Matt LeBar. Toronto has been broken on 3 straight 0 points. It's a 4-0 run for New York. Under 2 minutes to play in the opening half. Week 9 of the season. It's game number 10 for the Empire. Karklins is going on cruise control as he hauls in the huck from Wilkie Lewis. Much more receiving yards for Karklins. Is that a stall? No, it's a timeout. It's a good timeout call from Jamie Millage. You can hear the 6. And that was all Millage needed. You don't see too many timeouts called with the O-line on the field, but high stall situation late in the half. That's well done by the first-year head coach.
It should happen more often. It's a great way to save a turnover. I love the call. especially late in the half, but I think this should be something that more coaches do early on. It's worth it to save a possession.
Jamie Millage played 7 games over the past 2 seasons for the Rush. He was a track guy. He still runs track. He's trying to break the Ontario 200-meter record for the ages of 40 to 45. What's the record? 23.11. He ran a 23.4 last year, and he thinks he's got the record in his sights.
And what did you run last year, Evan?
I was a little bit higher than 23.4, just a little bit, on the 100. Out of the timeout, it only takes one. Blasman to Barbieri, and it's the first time we've mentioned Ty's name tonight. Coming off a 7-goal game this past Sunday, among the league leaders in scores with 32 goals on the season coming into the night.
Such a great cutter, great speed, ability to stretch the field, and using that in the end zone, winning the foot race. Toronto righting the ship.
So what board games were the board games of choice when you were traveling back in the day?
Look, there's all kinds. I mean, at the time it was Jeff Babbitt choosing whatever board game he wanted that he found that was new.
Okay.
I mean, it's the craziest stuff with like 3-dimensional buildings, and I don't know. I remember bananas hanging from trees. I wasn't participating in that. I was getting ready for the games. Jeff was leading the charge.
What about the old days for the Dragons?
Oh, those were the Settlers of Catan days.
Oh, nice.
And just praying we didn't get beat by 15 the next day.
I understand. LeBar has caught a bunch of goals, and he shows he can throw 2. Yacht wide open in the deep space, flips it into the end zone for Cowan.
He was wide open because Toronto was running what looked like to be the old classic snake in the grass, and just got over a little bit too late. I'd love to see a replay on that. Yacht wide open. And so LeBar doesn't hesitate, and why would you? And then coming from the back corner, couldn't see who that was.
Zach Armstrong, 6'4", guy in the deep space.
Yacht's already a good deep receiver.
The snake was too deep into the grass.
Got lost in the weeds.
What a first half, 10-10. 55 seconds to play. 20 goals, 12 turns, 6 apiece. If you're Toronto here, Brian, are you thinking about the clock either in terms of it being a limitator or of something that you're trying to utilize to not give New York a last shot?
Well, I think they maybe already have that strategy, but the offense has not been as consistent in this second quarter, and so the default, it's just easier to score. It's easier to not have to think about the clock, just play your normal offense. Don't worry about taking the exact last shot. But if you can do it, right, it's the dream scenario. Every coach has been talking about it for years, of being able to hold for the last shot and also punch it in.
Well, we are down to 12 seconds. Toronto on the doorstep of the red zone, and we got a whistle and a foul on Yacht, which stops the clock and gives a free 10 yards and allows a creative thrower in Ryan Polaz a chance to survey with the clock stopped. Clock won't restart until he releases the disc. Hammer to the back corner is on the money. 5 seconds remaining as Wilkie Lewis make it Keith McRae catching the score for the Rush.
And the refs have called this tight, but I would think if you're Ben Yacht, you have a little bit of a beef here, right? You're holding your ground and you get run into. I don't think that's a foul. But then what's the scouting report say? Because everything last week indicated to me that Toronto was going to throw hammer after hammer after hammer. We haven't seen a lot of them until this point. Leaving McRae wide open in the end zone doesn't seem like the wisest strategy when you know they're going to look hammer right away.
Third assist for Ryan Polaz. And the first goal for Keith McRae. Phil Turner with 5 seconds, rips the pull. Clock starts when the disc is touched. Brown centers to Shepard. Shepard rips it the length of the field. A pack in the end zone, and Karklin's aggressive goes up, and Shapiro hits him, and hopefully Arvids is okay. A lot of smiles over there, so it appears things are all right. Toronto takes the lead into the half, 11-10. They led by as many as 4, could have gone up by 5. Both teams will have things that they liked about this first half and also feel like they missed opportunities.
New York finding a little bit of energy in that second quarter, led to a string of breaks. They still have to save their season week after week. They did it once, and now they have to do it again. They're still down by 1, but a little bit more consistent in that second quarter, a little bit more energy, and taking advantage of some Toronto mistakes puts them back in the game.
Arvids Karklin's in the first half for Toronto. 3 goals, that block at the end, and a game-high 430 yards, 302 of which have been receiving. Toronto has an 11-10 lead. It's a must-win game for the Rush, and Arvids Karklin's is standing by down on the field with our Grace Buelow. Hey, Grace.
Thanks, Evan. How has it been playing for Toronto this season, Arvin?
Oh, it's been amazing. Honestly, it's a dream come true. Like, I can look back a few years, looking at UFA, like at that time, ADL videos, looking at my idols, and now to be a part of something like this is a dream come true, honestly.
I love that.
Yeah.
You guys throw some very risky throws. Is that planned, or does that just happen?
Oh, we're just trying to hit the open guy, honestly. Coach believes in us fully, so we just go out there and try to have fun and try to score points, and yeah.
Last question. What does it take for you guys to beat New York?
I mean, these guys didn't give up. We were like up 4, and then they came back 4 in a row, so it's not gonna be for free for sure. So we gotta fight for our lives, honestly. Like put our souls out there and try the best we can. This is a tough team. No wonder they're three-time champs, right?
No kidding. Well, thank you so much. Back to the booth.
Thanks.
Great stuff, Grace. Thank you, Arvids. Not only does he make plays on the field, he's also something of a historian of the league. He knows about the past. He's trying to be the future. Toronto up by 1.5 here on Friday Night Frisbee. On the green stage, huge bid, gets the
It's a great opportunity for the Germans, and they break with ease.
throw it the full 80 yards to the field. Are you kidding me? An incredible catch. You are kidding me. Oh my God. Throw like a pro with the new Pro Ultimate Frisbee. Created with input from the sport's premier passers, the Pro Frisbee is specially designed to fly through the wind and maintain its edge. Experience the official Frisbee of the UFA and get yours at shopufa.com today. It's now time to crack open a Friday night six-pack presented by Pabst Light as we discuss 6 key storylines in the UFA here in Week 9. Number 1, the game of the week, Saturday 5 p.m., the Toronto Rush and the Boston Glory. Just 6 days after these two teams squared off at Varsity Stadium in Toronto, Glory escaping that one with a 3-goal win in a high-scoring, entertaining shootout. The rematch at Hormel Stadium, and the teams will have slightly different rosters because both the Rush and the Glory have a bunch of good young players that'll be representing their countries at the U24 World Championships that are also getting underway this weekend in Spain. So a different flavor to this one. Obviously a daunting doubleheader weekend for the Toronto Rush, being at New York on Friday and Boston on Saturday. Toronto clinging to their faint playoff hopes. They need at least one win this weekend. They'd love to get two, but need at least one to keep their fading hopes alive. Number 2, also at 5 p.m., Chicago at Detroit. Now, the Union are hosting Pittsburgh on Friday and then traveling to Detroit. Entering Week 9, along with Boston and Austin, Chicago, one of 3 remaining undefeated teams in the league, but they're just 4-0, and the schedule really ramps up from here going forward with 4 doubleheaders in 5 weeks to close out the season. The bulk of the Union schedule is right in front of them. Number 3, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 o'clock Central. The reigning champion, Minnesota Wind Chill, are hosting the Indianapolis AlleyCats. Now, Minnesota looking to keep it rolling after a strong performance on Friday Night Frisbee last weekend. The Wind Chill looking ahead perhaps to their Friday Night Frisbee showdown at Chicago 2 weeks from now on July 4th. Minnesota, can they keep it rolling in a game that they should win against Indy? Wind Chill, AlleyCats, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 o'clock Central from Seafoam Stadium in St. Paul. Number 4 in the 6-pack, the Atlanta Hustle back in action here in Week 9 as they look to snap their 3-game losing streak. They started 6-0. They've lost 3 straight toss-up games at Minnesota, at Chicago, and at Carolina. Good news for Atlanta, they're back home against the 1-win Houston Havoc. However, the Havoc have been feisty. Half of their losses have been in really tight games, one in double overtime. They continue to play well against the Austin Soul in a 2-goal loss last weekend. It's a 7:30 opening pull Saturday night in Atlanta for the Havoc and the Hustle. Number 5 on the 6-pack. How about 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific for the Aviators and the Cascades. Now, these are 2 teams that delivered surprising playoff wins in the West Division over the past couple of years. And now they meet in a quirky fashion as interdivisional opponents. LA and San Diego joining the South this past offseason. Seattle staying out west. It's been a tough year for the Scades. A lot of close losses. The Aviators as well, rebuilding. An opportunity for both these teams to try and get a big win. Aviators heading to the Pacific Northwest this weekend and taking on the Cascades in a rekindling of that old rivalry on Saturday. Again, 5 o'clock local, 8 p.m. Eastern. Number 6, there's only one game on Sunday this week. Detroit at Pittsburgh. Both these teams will have already been big underdogs against Chicago earlier in the weekend. Mechanix, remember, have only just won 1 game in the last 8 years. That victory did come against Pittsburgh in Michigan last year. That game that finally broke the streak. And the Pittsburgh Thunderbirds are struggling right now. Losers of 5 straight entering the weekend. They're hoping they can get right again versus Detroit on Sunday. Opening pull 4 p.m. Sunday afternoon at Highmark Stadium. This has been the Friday 6-pack presented by Pabst Light, America's quality light beer. Beautiful night just north of New York City here at Memorial Field in Mount Vernon. Second straight week, the Empire calling this venue home. And look at that sky with the city in the distance. It's Toronto in front, 11-10. As we get set for the start of the third quarter, Brian, 3 breaks per side, and they came in bunches.
They did. You know, Toronto owned the first part of the game, almost going up by 5, and then New York found a way to take advantage of Toronto mistakes. And kudos to New York. They did force 1 turnover, but that Toronto offense was looking so smooth. The O-line conversions 8 for 12, and you can see the New York offense has not been consistent, 7 for 13. That's not where they need to be. That's not where they have to be in order to make the playoff run they want.
Which team's offense that we saw in the first half do you feel like is more sustainable as we get into the deeper pressure-packed moments of the game?
I'm going to say New York because I feel like what's unsustainable for Toronto is this highlight reel kind of offense that's based around hucking it. And at some point, I think New York is going to find the right matchups to limit Toronto in a way that they want. It took Boston 3 quarters to do it last weekend. Toronto plays a different style. They have big throwers. They have the ability to hit a lot of people in really big spaces, and you have to figure that out. Watching Karklin's, what's been interesting is he doesn't really get out of the play ever. He just stays in the lane and waits for the disc to reset, then makes a cut, and if he chooses the wrong direction, he's either going to get a massive underneath for a lot of yards or he's going deep. And he's pretty good in the air, Evan. I don't know if we've seen that yet.
We've seen it a little bit, certainly at the end of the half. Toronto will pull to begin this third quarter. The light is much brighter than that drone shot makes it look. There's still plenty of daylight left. It is the first day of summer, and the solstice means it's the longest day of the year. All righty. New York on offense. Sun doesn't set, by the way, until 8:30 p.m. Sunrise in Mount Vernon this morning was 5:23 a.m. But most of the Toronto players woke up in the dark. They had a very early flight. Their alarms were going off at 3:30, 3:45, 4 a.m. And they did fly, so many of them got naps. They got early check-in at the hotel. And they know how important this weekend is. It's massive for not just Toronto, but New York, and really everyone else in the East Division is undoubtedly watching. LeBar back to Brown. New York staying with this group with Cowan, Yacht, Randolph, Williams downfield. Rushmeyer Bailey gets a touch. And slipping it into the end zone for the 6th Matt LeBar goal of the night. 11-all.
They just looked so unbothered throughout the entire possession. If their first look was denied, they went to the second one. Whether the around break or dishing it back to the middle. And Saul looks here for John Randolph, and then LeBar comes through practically unguarded.
And one thing I'm noticing about LeBar is that it feels like he always looks fresh. Like it always looks like he's running as fast as he was at the first point of his night. And I mean, that speaks to the great conditioning and work he's put in off the field. But some guys just kind of have that to their demeanor when they're on the field.
Well, I think it's really easy when you have John Randolph making the bulk of cuts that you just have to pick your moment and do it every once in a while as opposed to having to do it every single time. That's the advantage of having a multi-dimensional O-line with stars that can do different roles.
Oh, that's an errant shot over Oliver Fay, but no deep target there for Toronto. Keith McRae.
Just a weird offensive angle.
And miscommunication.
But not only that, there wasn't much room to really go in either direction. You usually don't want to cut that close to the sideline from that angle. And really easy spot for the defense to play.
Difficult throw. Brownlee able to get it over to Chartok, and we get a whistle and a call and a free 10 yards for New York.
These free 10 yards, though, can be good because it allows the offense to reset There's no fast break. There's no momentum. The defense has to find a way to create it.
Brownlee unable to keep it alive. You can see the build up to the layup, the stutter step, and just eluding his reach. Glasman picks back up after the turn. Agami Contreras reaching for it, but Kamire pulls it in for Toronto.
New York in the first half was not very tight to the underneath cuts, and they're just playing more tight than before.
Contest from Fay and a whistle near the sideline. It's going against Fay and in Lewis's favor.
Lewis looked like he had this before Fay got in there and then stripped him of the disc. I'm surprised Fay is contesting vigorously as much as he is.
Toronto's first 0 point here in the second half. Hasn't been as smooth as many of their first half 0 points. Still on the doorstep. You know, these situations, if it's the first half, you might take a timeout, but in the second half, you don't want to burn it this early, right?
You wouldn't unless it's a high stall, but it isn't. And a nice dump swing leads to an easy goal. I will say, though, New York has found the little nuances they've needed to find since the beginning of the first half. Early on, Toronto was running them wherever they wanted to. Open underneath, open deep. It didn't matter. They looked comfortable. And now this possession ends with a nice dump swing. Exactly what you want to do. The reset to the middle of the field, the swing to the far sideline, even with a defender in hot pursuit, it doesn't matter.
What are some of the nuances you noticed from New York defensively there?
Well, they were afraid to give up the huck early, and now you see them keying in on the underneath. They have a little bit of mark protection, so that way the hucks aren't going to be as easy. They're staying with the Toronto cutting pattern a little bit more. It all felt a little foreign, which, no surprise, you bring over a bunch of stars from Europe that's going to play in a different way. It's going to take some time to adjust. It's always interesting playing a team you're not used to playing because as a defensive coach, I would always tell my players, they're going to throw something weird. It's going to happen. It's going to be weird in this way. We're not used to guarding it. Don't come back and say you didn't expect them to throw it because they're going to. It's happening. We've seen that with the hammers from Blastman, the Scoobers. Anything that can happen here, and it takes a while to adjust against a team like that.
Labar in the middle, gets it to Randolph. Quick dish for Yacht. Back to Randolph, shooting it for Cowan. He's got steps. Randolph puts it to space, and there's nothing Phil Turner can do to make up the ground. 12-all.
Another assist for John Randolph. I think if you're any defensive coach, the book would be, hey, if John Randolph is throwing 3 hucks in this game, just in a couple minutes in here in the second half, we're doing a great job. But this flick is a good decision. He floats it high to Cowan, who has the height, has the body position. And John Randolph just looks incredibly confident delivering this pass. 2 years ago, he was starting to experiment, starting to take some chances. And it looked like he wasn't so sure of when to put it. And now he's developed this sense, this game sense of when he can put out those hucks and just pull the trigger right away.
He had 3 assists in the game's first 5 minutes and 4 seconds and had a bit of a drought. I don't think he's going to break Cole Sullivan's 9-year-old record tonight. 4 assists for Randolph, but a big one there to tie it up. Glasman hits a man in rhythm. It's James Lewis. James's younger brother Wilkie scored the last goal for Toronto. Toronto started the season 0-4. They got their first win of the year against the Empire at Varsity Stadium. They followed that up with a dominant performance against Montreal. And vibes were really, really bright when they took the field last week against Boston. They started the second half with 3 straight breaks, had a multi-goal lead, and then the offense could not convert again in the third quarter. Really, the pieces all fell apart. And instead of getting to 3-4, 3 straight wins heading into this road trip, they're 2-5 in the cellar, still alive. but very little margin for error.
This type of pace that Toronto is using, it's very slow. It's very, dare I say, old school isolation style.
Whoa. Intercepted by Shepard. Creative attempt from Polaz, but I think he wanted it back immediately, and Shepard takes the timeout immediately, and New York has a chance to take their first lead since the score was 3-2.
It's rare that we see the timeout not come from the sideline for New York. I wonder if we're seeing a green light for the players to call it after last game where the timeout didn't get called.
Try and eavesdrop here on the Empire O-line huddle.
I love Jack's demeanor there. Yeah, let's get this guy in the middle. Let's do a side stack over here, isolate. And yeah, win a matchup. Let's go win.
When you're Jack Williams, it sometimes is that easy when you're on the field.
It looks like LeBar is going to be Phil here, filling in the space, and he has that speed to get around.
Yeah. I beg your pardon, LeBar. Yeah, it was going deep. Round holsters, and the reset forces LeBar to work for it. Randolph, plenty of space, another deep shot. All the way to the end zone for Calvin Brown, and the Empire lead again. Number 5 of the night for Randolph. Each one better than the last.
And this one, an easier decision. Plenty of space, has the right edge. They find the poach. They find the open hands. Toronto trying to play a little bit risky. Sometimes it's as simple as that. When the other team poaches, find the open hands, and when it's John Randolph who's throwing consistently great hucks. It's a nice game plan.
JR, the yards are piling up. JR number 2 on the Empire, just behind, or I should say number 3. LeBar's 1, Brown's 2, JR's 3. Randolph leading the way with 5 assists, no turns on 15 completions. James Lewis, guarded by Oliver Fay. Toronto is led by as many as 4. Now they trail by 1. And a desperation high stall shot into a crowd. Karklin's couldn't come up with it, but it's saved there by Polaz, one of the smallest guys on the field. And then Karklin's a casual scuba for the score. Was Arvids intentionally being the decoy there to get Ryan Polaz the yards there? I don't think so.
I don't know. Their offense hasn't looked too good lately. Maybe they employed the end of quarter offense in the middle of the quarter. Just throwing up a 50-50 ball. Better than getting stalled out, that's for sure. It is a nice scuba, though. I do approve.
Did he look too much? Mr. No-Look Scuba? Did you give yourself the No-Look Scuba moniker, or did that come from, you know, you doing it and then you got kind of bestowed the nickname? Or
I mean, I threw him a lot, so I called myself that.
Sounds like you gave yourself the nickname.
I got the proof. You have to choose a Twitter handle, right? Bryan Jones, pretty common name, taken.
That's fair. It's a good one. Randolph has thrown the last 2 goals for New York. Callan chewing up some yards, marked by Barbieri. I feel like if Toronto's going to win this game, we're going to need Ty Barbieri to be a little bit more involved. He's got the 1 goal, but he's been pretty quiet. And meanwhile, Randolph continues to be the man throwing goals for New York. That's number 6.
It's another flick. It's not a huck this time. It's a simple around. And he's used to getting these, being involved in the end zone dominator. Randolph at the start of the game, in tune, in sync, throwing it deep, getting open, playing his usual game, and then just no hesitation over and over again. And Lepler becoming that favorite target. This one, the jack, the rare double take. And this is the traditional JR we've seen, using the legs in the deep space, wide open, keeping it coming. And we saw the rush last possession change to a backhand force. They're going to have to do a little bit more than that if they want to stop John Randolph.
New York's clicking, but Toronto still just down by 1. Near the sideline, we got something.
What?
I'm not familiar with that elephant signal. Looked like a trunk of an elephant being waved up and down. Maybe that was a contact signal. Wilkie Lewis keeping the disc for Toronto.
High stall.
Pressure in the backfield, Yacht crossing over, and New York creates the turn. Alston picks up, he had it poked away, and the foul's going on Karklins.
You know, now we have to go read the rule book together, Evan, to see if that elephant signal is in there.
Pretty sure it's not. But people swing their arms in different ways to make a call, and that's a break chance given away quickly by New York as Alston had the throw swatted away by Comire. Under 3.5 to play in the third. A floater, 2 rush cutters there. And Karklins in the end zone. Very casual in the back corner, but it's a good goal. He came into tonight 6th in the league in receiving yards per game, and he has poised to continue to rise up that leaderboard with his performance today. The 5 guys in front of him, it's a pretty good list. Receiving yards per game, I didn't put a game's minimum on it. So you got Toba DeCrana, number 1 from Boston. Zeke Thorison, young Colorado Mama Bird product playing with the Summit. DC's Cole Jurek, Oakland's Walker Frankenberg, and Carolina's Jacob Fairfax. And then Arvids.
Pretty good company.
Pretty good list. All right, 14 all, 3:14 to play in the third. That disc, ooh, it's ruled inbounds. I thought it landed on the line, but the official had a much better perspective than I did. Rushmeyer-Bailey forced to initiate from the back, and Randolph makes a leaping catch with very little room to work. Still deep in the end zone. The rush, can they get a momentum-changing Callahan here? Brown to Jack, and he pivots out of the end zone and gets it to Randolph, and now much more breathing room as Yacht keeps the momentum going to Lepler. Brian, what's the key to a defense slowing down an offense's rhythm? Well, they turn it over.
A commentator's curse usually does it.
That's right. That is all it takes sometimes. Lepler shaken up again. I mean, it felt like New York was off to the races. Once they got it out of the end zone, it was just the rush playing catch-up.
It's really hard against that dominator. It just simply is. You have Jack Williams, John Randolph, 2 of the best people in the world getting open in small spaces. And then Ben Yacht gets involved and then uses his length to continue the break train and get throw after throw after throw that's just leading them into space.
Second time tonight, Matt Lepler has had to take an injury.
To answer your question, Evan, the way you have to do that is you have to concede the backfield. You have to do a good job of staying downfield of all the handlers, letting them go for the 3-yard gain. Because if they do that repeatedly, it's going to take them too many throws to score, and they're going to wear themselves out. You have to prevent that long ones that John Randolph's able to produce, Jack Williams able to produce, the 10 to 15-yard breaks. Minimize it to 5 yards, keep them in front of you. Easier said than done, because once you make one mistake, it's over.
Deep shot, testing Calvin Brown. He's there for the interception. Another missed chance for Toronto's D-line.
I think Brown internally must be screaming, "Wait, go deep!"
Benyat all the way into the end zone, and the Empire retake the 1-goal lead.
Calvin Brown is used to getting the disc in the backfield, losing yards and having to throw it deep. And when he gets a rare power position, I think he's just going to be begging, please, someone go deep. And when it's Benyat, it's a pretty nice target to have.
First in the league this year to cross over 3,000 receiving yards. Of course, he's played more games, so his receiving yards per game, it's near that top half dozen, but not among it, although he's gaining on him with plays like this.
Yacht's just done it for so long. You know his game, you know what's coming. You can try to back him, and he finds a way to get the massive unders, move the ball. But giving Calvin Brown that power position, that open space to throw into, he's going to take it more often than not.
In a lot of ways, it feels like New York is in complete and total control of this third quarter. And yet, I mean, Toronto can hold here, and we're tied. Toronto will receive to start the fourth. Certainly the Empire have been the more crisp team in the second half. That was not the case in the first quarter and change, and that's going to be a foul on Fay.
Just not needed. No chance of making the block. Why give up the yards?
To Blasman. Brownlee on the mark. Back to Lewis. Karklins. Up the line, Blasman. Toronto has plenty of time. How about this shot? Cross-field hammer, and he's not in. And that might be a good thing for Toronto. It lets them burn some more time if they want. Comire. As long as they do score, and they will. Karklins from Comire, 33 seconds left in the third. What do you think of the Tom Blasman hammer, Brian?
There was enough space for it. I'm not sure it was the most necessary thing in the world, but it worked out. You know he loves to throw it.
It's impressive. Nice snap.
It is impressive.
Karklins gets a little hydration. He's staying on the field for the end of quarter jump ball situation. 33 seconds for New York to work with. Toronto will receive to start the fourth. He'll turn it or pull.
Plenty of time for New York to work it down. They don't need to settle.
Mishandled pull.
That happens.
Rushmeyer Bailey loses time. Clock was about 29 seconds, lost 4 seconds when he finally got to it, giving up yards in the process. But New York still has time. Empire very polished in these type of situations. LeBar able to bring it in, and a foul goes on Karklins. Stops the clock with 9 seconds to play. Appleton's on the mark. Big wingspan. Into the end zone. They don't even need the full 33 seconds. Calvin Brown. He's such a great thrower, you don't think about him as a receiver.
He is a talented receiver, multi-dimensional player. And Jack Williams perfectly good at the hammer. Says Blasman, yeah, I saw the 40 yards across the field. No traffic. Try this one on for size.
Great verticality on that hammer. Downfield from Williams to Brown, and now 6 seconds remaining for Toronto here, down by 1.
I think Jack would fit quite well with this offense because we've seen him at the end of quarter pull out the thumbers, right? He's going to fit in. He's going to add that. The thumber, it goes the opposite way. It's a compliment to the hammer.
The playoff game against Boston last year. All right, Yachts out there. Antoine Davis, Marquez Brownlee, Everett Shapiro, Oliver Fay hanging to the deep space too. Blasman gonna rip it the length of the field. Rush need a rush down there. Phil Turner trying to make a play, but he can't really contest the easy interception from Fay. And it'll be a New York lead by 1 as we take the turn for home tonight here in the Empire State. 16-15, home team by 1, 12 minutes to go. On the green stage, huge bid, gets the
It's a great opportunity for the Germans, and they break with ease.
throw it the full 80 yards to the field. Are you kidding me? And an incredible catch. You are kidding me. Oh my God! Throw like a pro with the new Pro Ultimate Frisbee. Created with input from the sport's premier passers, the Pro Frisbee is specially designed to fly through the wind and maintain its edge. Experience the official Frisbee of the UFA and get yours at shopufa.com today. Back here in New York, the Empire leading the rush 16-15. First of 2 games this weekend for Toronto. They're at Boston, 5 p.m. Eastern. The UFA game of the week exclusively on watchufa.tv. Next Friday night, we'll be in Atlanta. Can the Soul stay undefeated? They put their 7-0 mark on the line against the Hustle. And then 1 day later, second night of the back-to-back, Houston currently getting humbled at Carolina. That game 23-13 in favor of the Flyers early in the 4th. Rush getting ready to receive the pull, down by 1. We got a fun 4th quarter ahead. Brian, your thoughts as we head into the 4th? Keys for each team and what's going to be the difference?
I think New York's in the driver's seat. They found a way to generate turnovers and pressure. Unlike the early part of the first half in Toronto, really hasn't had that many opportunities. They're going to have to find a way to score efficiently and then make the plays towards the end of the game.
Deep in their own end zone. Blasman needed to be right on the money, and it was. Ben Simmons was there hunting a block, and we got a pick downfield, which is going to hamper the Rush's momentum a little bit. 10 yards backwards goes Komire. Komire stalled out. Axel Agami Contreras on the mark. New York disc.
Now that's a signal I'm familiar with.
we got a contact call from the sideline official. And this is still going to be a stall. They're just going to, nope, they're going to give it to New York on the goal line. So Marquez Brownlee initiates. New York, 1 timeout left. They don't want to use it here if they don't have to, and they won't. Agami Contreras. I guess you can call that bookends.
Just a little bit of double happiness. Finding the tiniest sliver of space.
Ohio State product has brought them some energy tonight.
I thought here there could have been a slight contact call, which is what it may have happened before, but it didn't get called by the nearby ref. And technically, yes, I think that should have been contact, but nonetheless, great defense.
It's the Empire's first multi-goal lead of the night. They break to open the fourth. And in a way, this feels like, you know, do or die here for Toronto.
Their first multi-goal lead in a while, too.
Yeah, I don't think they had one last week against DC. Whoa. Off McHale's hands. Shepard picks up right on the doorstep. And then throws it away. Deep shot from McHale the other way. Yarder giving chase, but McHale runs it down. Huge swing here. It looked like Toronto was down by 3. Instead, it's a 1-goal game again.
Toronto puts their D-line out in the field. New York almost gets a huge gift and decides to re-gift. It's not quite the season for giving, but exchanging unforced turnovers. Not on the same page in the reset space. McHale settles himself, finds the open hands. And the nice little scuba to the dish.
Turner to Robinson for the Toronto score. 9:46 to play, and I said it before the point. I just, with the way this game's gone, if New York extends it to 3 there, the Rush very little mojo right now, but now back within 1. I got Karklin's out there on D. And that pull is going to be pretty good. Fielded on the fly by Rushmeyer Bailey about halfway deep into the end zone. Oh, Williams nearly threw it away. Great catch by LeBar to maintain possession there against Appletons. Jack Williams shooting it. Jacob Cowan wide open. Hawks are dialed in for the Empire.
Jack Williams is not always showcasing his big throws, and he would tell you himself he's not the best power thrower in the game, but this is easy money. This is wide open, and it's to a big, fast receiver in Jacob Cowan. It's in rhythm. There's just nothing hard about this throw. This is how you warm up.
Is it time for the Rush to change their defensive style and not encourage that throw with the way they're playing downfield?
They got to do something different. You just can't give up that easy of a throw deep in rhythm to Jack Williams. I mean, you and I could hit that throw.
Of course we could. Some viewers out there are snickering, but you and I have throws.
Yeah, but it's usually from the flip side.
When folks ask us to play defense, that's when we get into trouble. Pressure from Aladi in the backfield. Karklin's low laser, and it's a leaping attempt. And we get a whistle, and they're going to call the foul on Fay, interfering with Lewis here. Curious to see this. I don't know about that.
You don't know about that being a foul?
Did he hit him?
Yeah, he ran right into his legs.
I thought he ran past him and missed him, but I must have missed it.
He almost took out his knees. Faye got bit by the turf monster and then was lucky not to injure.
Blasman, marked by Brownlee. Crossfield hammer, that's not going to work. And Oliver Faye gets another block, but take it back. Foul on the throw.
Well, that's one way to stop Blasman's hammers.
So Brownlee called for the foul on the release, and Blasman picks up the assist to James Lewis. The Rush continue to stay connected. 8 minutes to go.
Couldn't quite see from that angle, so I understand, and I'm not seeing a foul necessarily right away. Hard to tell on the throw. And it's hard here. It's a hard job for the refs. Seen him chipped up and then.
Yeah, it's a foul. I take it back. I didn't see the arm contact on the leg initially. So another assist for Blasman.
Well, we're signing up to throw the Hucks. We're signing up to be refs next week. Me and you mic'd up, Evan.
I think it would be an interesting experiment for you and I to ref an exhibition game sometime.
Me, you, and Toner, I'm in.
Could we broadcast it and ref it at the same time?
I think we could.
The funny thing would be to get a couple of refs in the booth just talking trash about the job we're doing.
A little bit of redemption.
Yeah, really.
A little bit of revenge.
New York clinging to the 1-goal lead. 7:20 remaining. A lot of guys on this Empire O-line have had really good nights. Not sure anyone's been better than Matt LeBar.
Just watching him at this point. Interchangeable parts. Coming in the dominator set. Making it real easy. Look at that continue.
I think he was in, and he was. Official agrees. Another goal for Matt LeBar.
What I'm seeing that's so crucial for Matt LeBar is his ability to anticipate where the disc is going to go and not cut for the thrower, but cut for the next guy. You see that in that case for John Randolph. He knows where he needs to set up. Instead of trying to attack for Saul Ruchmeyer-Bailey, he's setting up to cut, assuming that John Randolph gets the disc. And then it's so easy to see the open space, take advantage of the window that opens up. It's like when you get the hit behind a really powerful hitter, fifth in the lineup, you know that fourth guy, right? You get some protection. You're going to see some good pitches. Matt LeBar with John Randolph working out really well tonight.
478 receiving yards for LeBar with 7 goals. Easily his season high for receiving yards. And he hadn't played much offense before this season.
And here
the
we
Rush
go.
turn it over in the backfield. The Empire pressure wearing Toronto thin. Another opportunity for New York to extend the lead. Brownlee, double team, resets to Yarder. Antoine Davis is there. New York by 3.
Taking control of this game. I love watching this after the turnover because you get to watch Marquez just play a little bit of mind games as he's setting up. First, we'll see the overthrown swing, some good pressure by the defense of New York. Then Marquez, after he picks this up, the subtle nuance. He knows he has Yarder behind him, but he's going to look downfield to get the double team to collapse downfield and then get the free, easy pass to Yarder, which leads to the goal.
I heard a great story pregame, Brian. You know, Marquez Brownlee, he's playing for the Beach national team. He's playing for the World Games. He's also on the Empire. You know, he's playing club. Like, there's so much Frisbee in his life. How does he have time for it all while also running a multimedia YouTube empire? No pun intended. He gave up Summer League this year. He's not playing Summer League.
Oh, and I've been hearing stories about how good that New Jersey Summer League is right now. Some people talking in the Ulti World Discord about how that team can make a run to nationals. I'm not sure about that.
He had to give up his Summer League team to play for the U.S. World Games squad. That was the sacrifice he had to make. Desperate times for the Rush, in danger of dropping to 2-6 with half a quarter remaining here on Friday Night Frisbee. Blasman's hammer is on target and a score. Another one for James Lewis. James Lewis had a 50-goal season earlier in his UFA career back in 2022. He's one of 16 players to have a 50-goal season this decade. He's had a pretty big night as a downfield receiver. That one brings the Rush within 2. 5:48 to play.
Rush keeping it close. Just going back to the Summer League team that I think Marquez is missing out on. Let me see if you know these names. Ben Yacht, you know that one, right?
Okay.
Alex Thorne, you know that one.
He's a pretty good thrower.
Yeah, Tyler DiGirolamo.
Yeah, they won college titles at Pittsburgh.
Yeah. So there's New Jersey McCuddle Summer League. They do pretty good over there.
Well, they don't have MKBHD this season. How's the fall league? Have you heard?
Divine.
Hard to believe looking back now, Brian, when Toronto had the disc up 9-5. Right around the midway point of the second quarter. Foul on Adibe. With a win tonight, Empire would get back to the 500 mark at 5-5. The remaining schedule all at home. Philadelphia on July 13th. And then Boston 6 days later. So there's a lengthy break coming up for New York. And the narrative will certainly shift if they can close out this game tonight. Get to 5-5 and basically be part of a three-way tie with Philly and DC, who are both 4-4. Williams in the Empire, very content to just bleed clock, and then Randolph leaps into the end zone. That's well done. About 91 seconds taken off the clock, and an Empire O-line conversion. And New York, if you think about it, they're 1-0 this year against Philly. They're 1-1 against DC. From a tiebreaker standpoint, with the teams all at 500, Empire in second place after this win tonight if they can close it out.
And they're looking pretty good right now, pretty sure-handed. It's really been this combination of what we're going to call a dominator, but it's interchangeable parts. So sometimes it's Callum Brown, sometimes it's Jack Williams, and just lately it's been John Randolph, Matt LeBar, who have been able to come in, and the Rush don't seem to have the personnel to be able to do anything about it. They're a little bit bigger bodied. They can take away the strengths of the cutters. It hasn't been a huge game for Ben Yacht, but it's been about the small ball. It's been about the easy passes, one break that leads to another, and Cascades down the field.
Certainly would be different for the Rush if they had Marty Gallant, Griffin McKee, Jax Miller, or Rob Siegel, or Oscar Stonehouse. Those are 5 guys playing for the U24 team. We also have Mark Lloyd and Mike McKenzie playing with the Team Canada World Games squad, unavailable for tonight. So that's basically 7 guys, a full line of international world-class players that Toronto's without. And look, they have been a team that has kind of had to deal with the revolving door of availability throughout the season. For so long, Toronto was such a dominant force in the East Division. They fall on hard times. They went 1-11 last year. Jim Lloyd was determined to change the story, and they've certainly done that, bringing in Karklands and McHale and Blasman and Appletons. And yet in this division, you can be really good and still be in 6th place. Looking for Karklin's in the end zone. A crowd is coming, and it's blocked down by Yarder.
Took a great path to the disc. Knew where it was going to float. Read the play well.
Timeout, New York, with 3:27 to play. And the Empire can taste a 5-5 record. You're right about the line that Yarder took here.
Just took a deeper line, got there as he just faded. Read the edge well. And now if you're New York coming out of this timeout, I'm wondering, you're up 3, chance to bleed clock, keep doing it, and then we can figure out which games to watch coming up this weekend and next weekend.
Well, Toronto at Boston is the game to watch tomorrow, then next Friday, Austin at Atlanta, and then Austin at Carolina. If the Rush can't come back here in the next 3.5 minutes, the stat's gonna blow your mind. It will have been 2,625 days when Toronto takes the field tomorrow since they last won a road game over an East Division opponent. They've won at Montreal, they've won at Ottawa. Their last road win was at Detroit in 2023. Before that, their last road win was at San Francisco, the Flamethrowers, in 2018. Got to go all the way back to April 15th, Tax Day, 2018, when they beat Philadelphia in 1918. Now, they did have a neutral site win on American soil over the DC Breeze in the 2019 playoffs before your 2019 Empire disposed of them a day later. That 2019 game, other than the Detroit win a couple of years ago, is the last time Toronto won on American soil.
That's incredible. Like you said, such a dominant team. I started off my coaching career losing to Toronto 4 times a year. Back in the day when a top league percentage for completions was 88% when they won. Different league now.
Very different.
But they were the rulers of the roost for a while.
What was the closest you got with the Dragons against Toronto? Do you remember?
Oh, we had a 1-point lead with 3 minutes to go in the 4th. I do remember.
Sure you do.
A couple of turnovers later, some flipped benches in frustration, and we were sent packing.
It's another one for Matt Labar, who's had a career night for the New York offense. And at 22-18 with 2:14 to go, that might be all she wrote for the Rush.
Such a great game early on from the Rush. Really looked like they were in control. A chance to go 5. They looked unstoppable, truly. A couple of mistakes, and New York got rolling, and they haven't had an answer since. It could have been 10-5, and now we're looking at 22-18. What a run for New York. That big, deep D by Jack Williams on the short throw from Blosman. That was really the turning point.
Matt Labar just scored his 8th goal. He's just the 3rd player in the league all season to get to 8 goals in a game. Zeppelin Ronning scored 10 for Seattle on May 3rd. Orion Cable had 9 against Toronto last Sunday. You've been involved in a bunch of these back-to-backs. What's the message for the Rush after this game as they get ready to face the undefeated Glory tomorrow, Brian?
Well, I think you have to play for pride. You know your season's pretty much out the door. You have an opportunity to go prove to the world that you can compete.
I mean, I will say, and at Boston on the second day of a back-to-back is tough. But after that, they have Pittsburgh at home, and then they play Montreal twice. Now, both those games are on the road, but they did beat Montreal handily in the one game. So if they could get to 6-6, they'd have a chance. I don't think I think at 2-7, they're done. It truly makes tomorrow, I mean, in every game from now on, the Rush, I feel like, need to run the table to have any chance.
Then you're just worried about the one game. Right? You're trying to find a way to improve on last weekend's. You're building up the confidence in the fact that you had a chance to go up 10-5. And you know that some of the mistakes that happened, right, were just lack of chemistry. Connor McHale had a turnover. That was just based in a miscommunication. Nothing more than that. You got to find a way to lick your wounds. I find that it's important to kind of recognize both the good and the bad and to move forward with confidence. Find ways to have fun on the road trip. And you saw this opportunity for Karkland, he talked about in the interview, right? I think he's still out here trying to make plays in front of his family, living his dream. I think he's going to be excited to play tomorrow no matter what. Rally around that feeling.
Here's Cowan. We go under 1 minute to play. Empire by 3 in a game that they trailed early in by 4. It wasn't one play that turned it around. It was the building up of the defensive pressure. And for the second straight week, this New York O-line's not going to be broken in the second half. I think that's right. Yeah, they were broken 3 times in the first half, and they have gone unbroken here since halftime. Cowan rips down another spectacular score. The exclamation point for the New York Empire tonight. Holy cow.
Their season wasn't working out last week. DC had command of the game, and at some point they made some changes. And we saw Jacob Cowan come over, the young receiver from Grinnell. He's made a name for himself, played for U24s. And just when you think you have the Empire offense figured out and you can back Ben Yacht and you take away their deep threats, and now you add in another lengthy receiver, it makes life a little bit easier. The young Bucks and LeBar and Cowan are getting it done for the Empire, proving vitally important down the stretch. Coming from smaller programs, and yes, JMU Hellfish, they are D1, and they've put together some exciting rosters, but they have not been a UNC, a Texas,
no.
Colorado, Oregon.
Want to mention the team that just won?
No, they have enough attention right now. They know who they are.
Glasman did beat the buzzer with a throw, but Oliver Fay lines it up, and he gets another block along with his teammate Everett Shapiro. May have stolen it from him. And the final score tonight, the New York Empire victorious 23-19. And the Empire, from an 8-goal loss at DC, which dropped them to 3-5, to a pair of comeback wins at home over the DC Breeze and the Toronto Rush. They're 5-5 with 2 home games left, and all of a sudden, this New York team that was, I think, 15th in the power rankings a couple weeks ago, last out of all the East Division teams, back up to second place.
Jack Williams and Calvin Brown grabbed a couple of shovels. LeBar added in, chipped in. Jacob Cowan digging themselves out of the hole, finding ways to get it done. It wasn't pretty in the first half. It didn't look great. The energy wasn't there. Something was missing, but they turned it around. They found a way to win, and the season continues staying alive and surviving for the Empire, while Toronto has to find a way to muster up effort against Boston tomorrow.
The Empire get the victory. We'll chat with a Pabst Light player of the game after this short break. On the green stage, huge bid, gets the
It's a great opportunity for the Germans, and they break with ease.
throw it the full 80 yards to the field. Are you kidding me? An incredible catch. You are kidding me. Oh my God. like a pro with a new Pro Ultimate Frisbee. Created with input from the sport's premier passers, the Pro Frisbee is specially designed to fly through the wind and maintain its edge. Experience the official Frisbee of the UFA and get yours at shopufa.com today. New York wins it 23-19. John Randolph had 8 assists, but Matt Lepler is our Pabst Light player of the game. 8 goals, 519 receiving yards, which is the 3rd most from any player in a single game in the league this season. And he was certainly a standout. He's standing by down on the field with Grace.
Thanks, Evan. Matt, what a game. But first I want to ask, you guys had some messy drops in the beginning. You looked a little awkward. Why is that?
It's a great question. I don't think there's a...
Grace is lucky she didn't get drenched in that. Grace, you there?
I don't think there's a good answer for that. I think it's been ups and downs all season with us. It's just kind of getting that initial start off the game is super strong for us, and we know that's like a monumental thing we have to start doing is like start the game off strong, and it's something we haven't been doing, but we've got a great defense to back us up, and we trust our team all along the whole game. So yeah, just really capitalizing on those little moments to succeed in the big moments. But yeah, happy how we played tonight, happy how I played, but it comes down to the team. We got more stuff to work on, and we got more games this season, so we know what the overall goal is, and we know where we have to do to get there, so there's a lot of work to be done.
Okay, one personal question for you. When you're in the end zone and no one's in your zip code, what's the first thought that comes to your mind?
Oh, that's great. I try my best to get open as much as I can. I love being in these small spaces and creating space for myself. I'm confident in these moments. I know I can do it, so it's just putting all those together and really making it happen out there. That's about all I got.
Did you lose your beer when your team attacked you?
Oh, yeah. Right here.
Amazing. All right, to tip us off for the weekend, Matt Lepler, you want to crack open the beer?
It's a good one.
Back to the
Appreciate you guys. Have a good one.
What a night for Matt Lepler and the New York Empire, and it was a slow start. They were down 9-5. Toronto had the disc to go up 10-5, and then the game flipped. I mean, from there it was 18-10 New York the rest of the way. And this is a rising Empire team. The Empire's not dead yet.
I think it's a good thing for Boston. They're seeing the Empire come up with that competition. And it feels like to me they're in the driver's seat, and they look like a team that can compete against the Glory. They did it earlier this season. If they're at full strength, they can catch fire.
Want to send a shout out and good luck to the 32 players who are leaving the UFA this weekend to represent their country at the U24 World Championships in Spain. That starts tomorrow night. You can watch the coverage all week long next week on ultiworld.com with an Ultiworld subscription. They also have one free game a day. And watchufa.tv Monday morning will stream U.S. Great Britain Open pool play game. So that'll be a treat for watchufa.tv subscribers. Check out U24 Worlds with Ultiworld doing the coverage. Best of luck to them as they get that show rolling tomorrow in Spain. Plenty of entertainment tonight. Matt Lepler, the star. He's the Pabst Light player of the night as the Empire turn it around. And this New York team is going to be heard from in the playoffs, it feels safe to say. Best of luck to the Rush as well as they head to face the Glory. That's a 5 p.m. Eastern game in the UFA Game of the Week tomorrow on watchufa.tv. It's always a pleasure to be alongside the former UFA Coach of the Year, Bryan Jones. Thanks to Grace Bulow down on the sideline. And for our entire crew, I'm Evan Lepler saying good night from the Empire State. Final score, New York 23, Toronto 19. Good night, everybody.
your tickets for our next home game
at shopempireultimate.com.
The future of sports is now with Yepple. Game day has never been easier. Check out everything happening around your favorite team all in one place. The Empire is proud to be pairing with Yepple to help our fans make the most of game days.
Empire fans, it's that time of year again. The UFA season is here, and New York is offering season ticket packages at watchufa.com/empire. Packages include your general admission pass with merch perks and free unlimited popcorn, a disc, and a family pack so you can bring the whole household. Not to mention all season ticket passes include admission to all our away games as well. Just show your pass at the front gate.
Hey Empire fans, shopempireultimate.com is your home for all the latest Empire gear. From hats to hoodies to discs and coaching. shopempireultimate.com is the best place to get yourself ready for the next Empire game.